if you get too big, then you're like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Like, people love to hate the big people who make too much money. If they just donate it back to the poor, everything would, like, that's not how fucking life works. Welcome to the Dropship Podcast, where you'll learn how to build and grow a high-ticket dropshipping business and hear stories from successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. Let's kick this thing off. Hey, happy 4th of July from the Dropship Podcast. John and I are both here to talk to you about America. America wants you to start a business. Is this funny, John? Hold on. I'm in a rant here. America wants you to start a business. I'm going to do some more fireworks while we're at it. The truth is, America was built on, really it was on us avoiding taxes, which is hilarious that now we have half the country saying, you should pay more taxes, rich people should. I want to convince you by the end of this show that you should start a business and why America incentivizes you to start a business and how all of the big corporations are not what we're fucking talking about today. The last time we talked about this shit, we got, yeah, nice job, bootlicker, and like all this other shit in the comments about like corporations. The majority, I want to say it's like 2/3. I have the data pulled up here somewhere. 2/3 of this country, 2/3 of new jobs annually are created by small businesses, not by the big corporations you think are fucking you over. It's small businesses, people like you who can just start something today and have a $1 million business a year, 2 years from now, and employ 3 people and enjoy all the tax breaks America wants to give you because you started a business, because you created growth in the economy, because you created jobs. America wants you to start a business, and I'm begging you today, light off some of these fireworks, sit back and, listen to us and realize that there are a million breaks from the American government. I'm hoping the Australian government's on board here too. John can fill us in. But for 4th of July, sit back and realize America wants you to be an entrepreneur. All right, first, before I get into all the things that America can do for you, John, this is like me trying to convince John to move over here, by the way. What does the Australian government do for you? Like, are they incentivizing business owners in your country, or are they somewhat demonized as they are in this country?
I think there's, I don't think, I mean, it depends what type of business you're looking to start. Like, is the government like actively trying to help a majority of like anybody start any business? I don't think so. Not right now. They have done some things in recent years that from a taxation perspective that do help. And there are certainly in particular industries from time to time, like ways that they are like really trying to encourage people to start businesses to fill a gap or something like that for sure. Online businesses is never one of those, by the way. But I would say Australia is a bit different to the US. US, you kind of have the, like to an extent, and at least from the outside, this is what I see, is that you guys kind of look up to the entrepreneur, if you know what I mean. Like the entrepreneur is kind of celebrated a little bit, that spirit, right? In Australia, it's a little bit different. That's not the case. Like people who do well are really get torn down over here. I'm sorry to say. We have the tall poppy syndrome. That's like an Australian term, I think, which is like if you put your head above everybody else in some way, you must be doing something, you must be taking advantage of somebody. You must be taking advantage of the system. You must be, fucking someone over somewhere and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's the dumbest thing ever.
Where's that line?
I know why people do it, right? People do it to put off the pain in their own life, right? Like, honestly.
Where's the line for you? Where does the poppy extend? So in America, like you're right, entrepreneurs are celebrated. But if you get too big, then you're like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. People love to hate the big people who make too much money. If they just donate it back to the poor, everything would, like, that's not how fucking life works. So is it like the mega entrepreneurs that are hated, or like literally everyone who's like slightly better?
I think it's literally everyone. Like if I was like sitting there in a group of people in a social situation, and they were all people who are sort of on an average income, let's say, and I am not on an average income, and like literally I'm not. I guess technically on my the last time I did my taxes, I fall into the 1% in Australia, right? If I said that, and that doesn't make me a big guy, like I'm not those Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, obviously nowhere, not even within the same, game as them. Like there would be people sitting in that social circle that would be like looking at me like, big noting yourself, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're the problem, blah, blah, blah. But you don't pay any tax, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, yeah, it's any level, honestly. And like, that's not every Australian thinks that way, but like a lot do. And so, and I think that kind of in some ways flows through into, you know, the government's only going to do what it thinks to a certain extent is going to get it re-elected, right? And so if the government gets the sense that most people in a country don't really support entrepreneurship, well, guess what? The government's, you know, I mean, there's some other reasons that they should, but that's going to flow through to a lot of politicians as well, right? Because let's face it, most politicians are fucking average individuals. Anyone can be a politician. It's not based on merit, right? So a lot of these people come to politics with a fucking shitty mindset around this stuff because they're just average. Like, oh, I was a lawyer, so now I'm going to be a politician. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, let's not get started on that rant.
Leave a comment below if you'd like John to rant further on that. I would like to hear it, actually. So, look, I just think it's interesting, like you said, that I don't even get the big hate. I genuinely don't. Like, let's use Elon Musk as an example. The dude has created more change in this world and future change that's about to happen than almost any other entrepreneur. He's literally the greatest entrepreneur that's ever existed, in my opinion. And people want to hate him for like not paying enough. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand the tax argument in general of like, they don't pay enough. They should pay more taxes. Why? Because they worked fucking harder than you and like built something greater than you, and like they should pay as a percentage more or like a total number more. Like Elon Musk paid last year or the year before more taxes than any humans ever paid in the history of America. And like that wasn't enough. And I don't really understand that. I don't understand the love for paying taxes either. I don't really know how that came along.
Well, it's because people don't understand like government budgets. Like the amount of money your government, any government, I don't mean the US government, I mean any government wastes on shit far outweighs the tax that's paid or not paid by like, you know, the billionaires in a country. Like them paying more tax isn't going to fix your budget, your government's budget. Like government budgets are so fucking massive. Like people don't understand the number 1 billion and how big it is, right? Let alone if you get close to $1 trillion. If you're in the US, you know, I mean, you're probably talking more about those sort of numbers in some circumstances. Like people paying more tax, like 500 individuals paying more tax isn't scratching those numbers. If they pay an extra 10% tax a year or 20% tax, they're not fixing anything. Like it's just like it's people who are in pain in their own lives find it easy. They're just easy targets. That's all it is. They're easy targets. Nobody's going to defend them. Nobody's going to look at the good that comes from what they do because they don't understand it. Like if you're Joe Bag of Donuts working an average job, you don't get how business works. Like you just don't understand it. I'm sorry. You probably are an armchair person who thinks you do understand it. Believe me, you really don't. You're not qualified to talk about that shit. And so it's an easy target for people. And, you know, people feel good about saying, well, you know, I'm in my shitty hole in life because somebody else isn't paying tax. And somehow if they did, that would fix things for me right now because the government would spend more on me, even apart from the fact they wouldn't, even if they had more money. You know, and so
my brother
like
used
Elon
to say
Musk
this.
are just an easy target. Like politicians can say shit about them. Everybody else can say shit about them. Who's like, what are they going to do about it? They're going to say, well, I don't give a fuck. And everybody knows that they don't really give a fuck if you talk shit about them. So the cycle continues.
My brother used to tell me his boss, he's like, I'm down here on the dock driving forklift, busting my ass, working extra hours. And I know he's upstairs. He's got his feet kicked up. He's just counting his money. And I was like, that's what you think your boss does? Like the owner does? Like, I guarantee he goes to bed every night fucking super stressed, worried about whether like, you know, the next month's books are going to be as good as last month's books. And like, you know, he's constantly enthralled in risk. Like that's it. Like you're just taking on all of this risk and you're carrying a heavy burden for a lot of people. And you're being appropriately rewarded for the risks that you're willing to manage. But I do remember being that person. That's the sad part, like 10, 15 years ago, just like not screaming for more people to pay taxes, but like somebody come help me. You've made it. You've got it figured out. You must be able to like, come give me a break. I need a break. I work my ass off. I wasn't working my ass off in the right way because I didn't understand leverage. I didn't understand how to use my brain in a good way rather than a bad way back then. Yeah. But like, that's all it is. It's like, you know, you're just not using leverage. You have no leverage. I'll use my brother as an example. Sorry, Josh, if you're listening, buddy, but he's a forklift driver. they can go get anybody off the street to drive the fucking forklift about as good as Josh is going to drive it, even though he claims to be the best guy this side of the Mississippi River. I'm up for a forklift challenge, by the way, if you're watching this, Josh. I still got it. But like, he's replaceable. He has no leverage whatsoever, right? Even if he's been the best worker ever for 10 fucking years, that doesn't mean shit. He has no leverage, right? Take a step up the thing where you have a little more knowledge, you've managed people, you're a little more valuable to the company. You now have leverage, right? And as you continue to go up that ladder, you continue to have more and more leverage in your ability to negotiate your pay, your ability to negotiate the hours you work. So you're not working 60 hours a week and you're not working graveyard shift and things like that. And so, yeah, I don't know. I always found that interesting, but I also used to be that guy where I was definitely like, I had the victim mentality for most of my life, where it was just like, someone come see me, someone come save me, because I don't know how to fucking save myself. So
yeah,
if that's where the tax thing comes from, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know, and like it does upset me a bit. Like in Australia, like people think that they say that stuff like, oh, like people would say, oh, you blah blah blah. They'd say that to me or whatever, and I'd be like, listen up, dickhead. Like, the only reason I'm in that position after 10 years is because I do the things that you're not prepared to do. Like, you can sit there and whinge about your circumstances and all of that sort of stuff, but you put yourself there. Like, you put yourself there. I chose to put myself somewhere else. I worked 100 hours a week at one point to put myself, along with my job, building businesses, all that sort of thing. You're just not prepared to do that. Nobody gave me any money to start this. I started with nothing really in my bank account, like you, in debt, et cetera, and I did the work consistently for 10 years, and now I get to say, like, I'm in the top 1% of earners in Australia, right? That's the only reason. There's nothing else, and people don't get that. Like, they don't get that you can actually, like a lot of people, it's just too easy to blame it on somebody else rather than saying, well, all the things that other people have done are actually open to me, right? I'm choosing not to do those things. That hurts, right? That makes it your fault. And so it's much easier just to go and say, oh, well, I'm just fucked over by the system that these rich guys have created and I'm stuck in it. I can't get out and it's unfair. No, that's not the truth, actually.
Just for reference, I pulled it up. If you took 1,000 of the wealthiest people in America, not what they have liquid, their entire net worth, and liquidated it, it would fund the government for 9 months. Is that like, if that doesn't tell you we don't need more tax money, I don't know what it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So,
Yep.
Look, I want to get to what we were here for. Let me get the fireworks going again. If you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Spotify, it's 4th of July, man. America wants you to start a business. There's a few things I wanted to point out, right? So, like, I'm going to pull this over. Claude helped me with this. If you guys aren't playing around with Claude, definitely check it out. Claude.ai. I think their tool is much more conversational than ChatGPT. I'm very impressed with it. John said it won't spit out over 22,000 words. So he's struggling with it, but I think we'll figure it out. Like, I like this stuff a lot. So I'm just looking at this. The story of America is entrepreneurs, right? So if you look through anything that has happened in our country, it is because of capitalism. It is because of entrepreneurs. You cannot point to government. You cannot point to anything else that has brought this country where it has gotten to. If you look at our founding fathers, George Washington was a prolific entrepreneurial farmer back in the day. How to Take Over the World podcast is fucking fantastic, by the way. If you've never listened to it and you want to go learn about like some of the great people in the world and history, super fantastic. Great one on George Washington on there. Thomas Jefferson was also land/agriculture entrepreneur. The whole like frontier spirit of westward expansion was driven by like entrepreneurial trailblazers, people looking to start a new life and be a merchant and go mine for gold if you want to be part of the gold rush and things like that. And if you look through everything that's happened in this country, automobiles, aviation, computing, they were all led by entrepreneurs. How many of you are sitting there right now with an iPhone in your pocket? Like, Steve Jobs was an incredible entrepreneur and created what we have today. If you go look at what's going to come in the future, when we go to Mars, you're going to thank Elon Musk for that, right? When we are all driving through tunnels underneath cities instead of being caught in traffic, you're going to thank Elon Musk for that sort of stuff. Every single person listening to this in America, I guarantee you, has an Amazon Prime account right now. Are you thanking Jeff Bezos? Or are you thinking he's the one screwing over the system, right? Like, entrepreneurs are the people who change the world. Capitalism is truly the greatest thing to ever happen in this country. I can't imagine people who think capitalism's like bad. Crony capitalism is bad, not capitalism itself. Free markets are fantastic. And so like through that lens, America has built laws into this country to incentivize you to start a business. There is a reason entrepreneurs pay less in tax in general than the average worker is because they are incentivized to pay less in tax. They are incentivized to grow their business, to create more jobs, to create more growth in the economy. And in turn, America will say, you can have a lower tax bill. We're going to incentivize you to do this. So I can think of a few things. I don't want to get too deep because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a tax professional, but there are a lot of reasons, a lot of ways that you can write off things. You can take, you can pay a whole lot less in tax at the end of the year by simply just doing what you want to do, which is like grow your own business. Before I touch on some of those, John, is there things in your country that you can think of? Is there like when you get to the end of the year, so if you had a business go haywire and you had to like sell it for a loss, can you take a loss on your taxes? Can you write off your office space? As you need that to run your business. You need your phone to run your business. You need internet to run your business. If you're not an LLC yet, you can write off all of your mileage. If you're not an S corp, you can write off all of your mileage. If there's a part of your home in which you do most of your work, you can write off that section of your home from your rent, from all of your utilities. If you're an S corp, you can rent a piece of your home to yourself and write that entire thing off. You're also you're renting to yourself, which is really fucking weird to think about. But you have to keep the house clean. You have to keep the place maintained. You have to up here. You have to get your driveway plowed and your sidewalk shoveled. You have to mow your lawn. All of those are expenses to keep your property in good shape so that you can rent your own room to yourself, if that makes any sense. It's a very confusing process in some fashions, but constantly America is giving you these breaks to continue running a business, to create growth in the economy and hopefully start hiring some people. What do they do in Australia for you, John?
I mean, you have
stand out?
You have all of those things to an extent. I mean, of course, the amounts that you can claim or the percentages of various things you can claim, no doubt, are a bit different here in Australia for some of those expenses. But yeah, I mean, sure, I'm sitting here in an office in a warehouse, and that I pay money for every month, and that's an expense. Write that off. And when I was at home, I'd write a percentage of the cost of being in that house, for an expense as well. And when I was running my business there, and equipment, all sorts of stuff, and I mean, you can get creative with that as well if you want to in various ways. And there are, I think when you get further into it, there are ways that you can use companies and trusts to purchase things. And, so I could start another company to buy a warehouse and lease it back to one of my businesses that I use it in every day. And, I mean, there's a lot of tax things that you can do. Yes, I mean, my biggest piece of advice would be to find a really fucking great accountant who can not just do your taxes every year, but actually you can sit down with and do like financial planning and tax planning around like, what are all the ways that I can utilize a business to put myself in the best possible tax situation, and use what the government offers, and the various things that they have around there. Like, accountants are just going to know things that maybe industry specific things or whatever that you might fall into. And you could be in a niche with a high ticket dropshipping business where there are government schemes that you could use to your advantage, or that you could apply for grants, or, things like that. If you serve particular communities that are currently, getting help from the government or whatever, there might be ways that you can utilize those. But being connected with people in the know about that stuff will certainly help you to do that, because as an individual, you're unlikely to become aware of a lot of those things as well, because the government doesn't always go out and advertise them in a big way, right? There's all sorts of little benefits available in various places that you just never hear about unless you're somebody who knows about that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that there's a lot of ways that you can, offset the income that you earn in a beneficial way. Not in an illegal way. I mean, I'm not talking about doing anything under the radar when it comes to taxes or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, you can, and you should push the boundaries a little bit too. I would say that. I've got a good history of pushing the boundaries with the tax office, and if you overstep the mark, literally, like, it's not the end of the world either, right? They give you a really long time to pay stuff back in Australia. Like a really long time. It's kind of like an interest-free loan sometimes.
Jesus.
Yeah, I should.
Well, I'm a little
I
more
shouldn't
white
say that
hat than John.
publicly.
Yeah, I'm a little more white hat than John. Apparently, just like people often call these loopholes, and they're not. They're built into the tax code for a reason. They want you to keep growing your business. You should want to keep growing your business, and so why not take advantage of these systems that are in place to keep more money in your pocket, keep more money in your business, so that you can grow your business even more efficiently. And then the next year you can do it again, and eventually you're going to snowball that into a very big business. And so, look, there's a ton of little ones in America. Like you can pay to have your kids help in the business. You can pay them like $12,000, $13,000 a year tax-free. If you're already setting aside money for them for college, or if you are starting them a 401k early on in life, like this is a no-brainer to get that tax-free money out of your business and into your children. They can help with taking photos. If you're selling equipment, I know Amira uses her kids often in photos. They can shred paper for you. They can clean the office. There's a lot of things that your children can do. That's one of my favorite ones. So I think if this is interesting to anybody, leave a comment below or reach out to John and I. I do have some connections that I think would come on here and talk about some of the cool stuff that you could do. But really all I wanted to touch on today was that truly, like, if you buy into that victim stuff, you're on the wrong side of history. Like history would show you that entrepreneurship and capitalism is the answer. It is the reason that we grow as a country. It is the reason that, honestly, we grow as humans. This is going to be the biggest self-development journey you're ever going to go on is entrepreneurship. And so if I can just encourage anybody to, celebrate July 4th here and celebrate by saying, today is the day I'm going to start a business, because America wants me to. John and Ben want me to. I'm tired of listening to their voices on this podcast and not taking any action. If this is the last kick in the ass to get you started, then I'm glad we did this podcast.
Yeah, and definitely, if you're the person who's sitting around like playing the blame game and like you're in pain in your life, and you think the thoughts, and you're the person that we're talking about, and that sort of thing, like it's the power is in, nobody's coming to save you. Like the power is in your hands to change that circumstance. Like you can do it. A majority of the millionaires you hear about started themselves. They didn't inherit their money, and all of that sort of thing. Like you can get started. You can do exactly the same thing. It may not feel like it right now. And it's hard to see it when you're at the beginning, but just take a small leap of faith. Take the small steps first. Get started. And if you can put in the hours, if you can put in the work, and if you can be consistent, like you can literally be that person that you're claiming should pay more taxes and all of that sort of thing. You can be that person. Ben and I have done it. Countless other people have done it. And there's no reason you can't do it too.
And you can do it ethically. If you truly believe, and I hope you don't about John and I, but if you truly believe entrepreneurs are out here screwing people and bending them over and making them work too hard for their gain, then build the business that is different than that. Because you don't have to do that. In fact, almost everyone I know is not doing that. Like that's not how entrepreneurship works. Maybe that's how the big corporations end up working, because there's just so many levels of people in between the bottom and the top. But you can build a business that means something to you. You can go serve the people you want to serve. You can bring on employees that you treat unbelievably well. You can do whatever you want in your business. And I just encourage you to start. Thanks for listening to the Dropship Podcast. You can find all the show notes for this episode at dropshippodcast.com. And if you're ready to take the next step in your dropshipping journey, we invite you to join us inside Dropship Breakthru, where John and I will walk you through step by step in starting your own high-ticket dropshipping e-commerce business. But that's not all. Dropship Breakthru will also teach you everything you'll need to know to grow your business and take it to the next level. So head over to dropshipbreakthru.com and sign up for our free training that will help you take the first steps towards building and growing your own profitable high-ticket dropshipping business.